So I will be talking about a short video about for my 3910 database and management. I will demonstrate a unsafe and safe version of a database called directory that I created beforehand. And I will be using those two Python files. One of them is the unsafe version, the other will be the safe version. I will be demonstrating how both of these are, how each those are unsafe and how the other one is safe. So the first thing we have to do is we have to log into MySQL and log in. Now I'm in MySQL. If I go show databases and then click enter, right now it shows all the current database, and if I go select from their dictionary word. Oh, oops, sorry. Sorry about that. If I go and select from dictionary word, we can see like right now this is like the directory that I just created for this test, and here it shows like all the words that I've inputted in. Let's get out of MySQL. Now let's log in. Let's use the Python files and demonstrate their functions. So if I go cd and documents, we change the directory, and then we go for Python 3, and we'll first go with the unsafe version. So we click enter. So the host name would be localhost. The port will be 3306, the default port. The root name, username would be root, and password the same password I used to log in to MySQL. And now we connected to MySQL server using the Python file of the unsafe version. We can like either input in a word, like from here we can like see all the words that are currently in the dictionary database. We can like input a word. It could be for example, we can say like James, a name, and it would say the word was added to the dictionary. So now like, or we go again 3306 root, and then we could say, for example, earth, and which is a word that we already have. It will say this word already exists in dictionary, enter a new word to replace it. We can just say earth with a lower, not capitalized, and enter that, and it will say the word has been updated. So now if we go back and check out, if we log into MySQL, so if we go back to MySQL, and then if we check the dictionary database again, you can clearly see here that Earth is not capitalized anymore, and James is added. So yeah, it shows that for both of those files does the same function. You can like add word or try to add in the same word, and it will ask you to replace that word with another word, a new word. So now let's get to how this is unsafe and how this is the safe version. How both like the safe and unsafe version is. So why is this unsafe version unsafe? So if we go back to the file, sorry, cd documents, and then we go back to the file again. So unsafe Python, and so this time instead of like inputting in a word, let's try it as MySQL inject and see what will happen. I'm gonna like use MySQL inject and inject in a new directory, which is something that we don't really want, but it shows just how vulnerable the unsafe version of this is of this word insert is. So we log in, localhost 3306, and then root, and then password. So in this case, the SQL injection I'm gonna use for the example is gonna be create database hacker, and then create database hacked, and then we go and then we do the double dash. This double dash would be it would like terminate the SQL statement prematurely and comment on the rest of the original SQL that the command is using. This injection would like let us like insert in like a database that like we don't want in like the database in the all the databases. So like so this is the SQL injection, and we press enter. As you can see, it says I cannot like this command is out of sync. I can't run this command now. But so if we go back to MySQL, so if we go back and log back into MySQL root and then log back in, and then when we check the databases, so then we checked show databases, and as you can see here, says there it is, the hacked. This means that the directory, the databases has been breached, and if we use the unsafe version, pretty much anyone with like the correct SQL injection could like just pretty much like do anything if they know what they're doing and stuff. So this shows that this way of using the database, the unsafe version, is unsafe, and that anyone could just like edit it or like add stuff in it, or possibly even like remove stuff, or they can probably even access like private information that we don't want to access, which is why this is unsafe. So the unsafe is actually the SQL injection actually work, and now we have like a hacked database inside all the previous databases. Let's check out like how why is the safe version is different. So we go to the CD and documents, we change the directory again, and this time let's run the safe version. So add a word v2 safe. So it acts the same as the unsafe, so localhost and port would be the default, username would be root, and password would be the same. Okay, now it would like if we had just add a word in here, then it would just do the same thing. But so now I'm gonna like attempt to use a SQL injection that would like allow me to change like a word in the dictionary database. So update, and then update, and then dictionary word set word injected word, and then where ID equals, and then double slash. So this time, if we try running this injection, this is what would happen. You can see here that it just said that this would just be treated as like a word, not as like a SQL injection. This means that like if we go back and then if we log back into MySQL and And then when we check the directory, the dictionary database that we are using currently, we can see here now it's just this SQL injection that is supposed to be like changing one of those words would be is now just added as like it's treated as like another word to be added in the database. So why is the unsafe version like allow us to like change like add like a database or even change database, but the safe version just treated it as like not an inject, doesn't like it just treated it as like a input? Well, that's because for the unsafe version I use like direct concatenation of like the user input. So like for example, the word and the new word, like here and here. This is unsafe because it does not distinguish between like the SQL command and the data. It can like allow a hacker to like inject arbitrary SQL code into the queries, which allows them to do like pretty much anything they want if they know what they're doing. And it also lacks like input sanitization or parameterization. Basically, the code is not like sanitize or validate the user input, nor does it use parameterized queries or prepare statements, which are like often like the recommended method for like safety, including user input in SQL directories. Basically, there's a risk of data leakage or unauthorized access. This SQL injection vulnerability can like lead to exploits or sensitive information from the data, modify or even delete or gain unauthorized access to database function, like I said, which is why this is unsafe. The way that like we can like make this safe is modifying like the word input. It can like potentially, if like an attacker like manipulates a word input, they can like potentially allow any attacker to like retrieve, modify, or delete data in like the dictionary word database that we're using, which is like something we don't want ever. Now we talked about like why this is unsafe. So then what about the safe version? Well, for the safe version, we can see clearly here that we're using like prepared statements. So like here like where word is like, for example, like cursor query check word, this code would like separate the data from the SQL command, which is like achieved using these in the SQL query. The actual data is like passed as a parameter to the execute method, which like prevents the data from being interpreted as an SQL command, which effectively neutralizes the injection attacks. Since like this basically the safe version is like using like prepared statement, which is like for like security practice, it would be like the best practice for database access, as it not only prevents SQL injection, it also makes the code cleaner and easier to maintain. It can also improve performances by allowing the database to cache like prepared statement and reuse it with different parameters. Like the SQL injections is not going to work on this is because like one, it's like separation of like a code and data with like those remarks, and there's no direct SQL command execution from like the user input. It handles like the parameters safely, and using special characters, it is capable of escaping as the database driver automatically handles the escaping of special characters in the parameter. This means that like any character which would potentially be used to craft an SQL injection payload will be neutralized and will be treated as part of the data, which is like as shown here. It is like just treated as a word instead of like a SQL injection from like the previously when we like when we used this and it actually created the database using the unsafe version, which is bad. And that is why like the unsafe version, and the safe version is different, because the safe version is like using prepared statements and the unsafe version is not, which is why these are treated like differently.